Welcome back. All right, talking about rookies. I want to talk about the Calder race as it is, as we're about 10 games out from the end of the season. And it does look like that the guy that's at the top of the board here probably ends up winning it, and that's Matty Beniers. But there should be some consideration given to some others. I don't know how much consideration they're going to get when the voting rolls around, but I thought I'd weigh in on the topic. Now, you'll also notice that in purple underneath each name, I've put down the year these players were born. And when you get to the two goaltenders, they're older because it does take goaltenders longer to develop in general than it takes skaters, both forwards and defensemen. Also of note, the two defensemen on the board, 2002 draft year, or 2002 birth year, and the 2003s, there's just a couple of them, and then Michelli's older than the others. But let's go through this. So Matty Beniers, 69 games, 19 goals, 30 assists, 49 points, is the favorite, and his points per game, 0.72. His ice time is the highest amongst the forwards on the board at 17 minutes and 5 seconds. Now, you can make the argument that if a player gets more points per minute of ice time, so the guys who've played less that are getting around the same amount of points, maybe they deserve more consideration. Generally, that's not the way that ends up working out, but it is something to consider when you're looking at what you're projecting these players to do going forward. So Matty Beniers, very likely to be a point per game player in the National Hockey League. He's going to build to that, I would think, with Seattle. But Mason McTavish is going to be excellent as well. 70 games played this season, 16 goals, 25 assists, 41 points on an Anaheim team that has been mostly a disaster, right? So 0.59 is the points per game for him, but his ice time 15 minutes and 31 seconds per game. So he's playing a minute and a half less per game than Beniers. Well, that really adds up when you're looking at a 70 game amount of work so far. And with the extra minute and a half, would he have had that 49 points the same as Beniers? Maybe. But again, when they do the voting at the end of the year, it generally goes to this is the guy who's got the most points and is the sexy pick for that award. So McTavish, I think, has been excellent for Anaheim on a team that has not been excellent this year. Then you get to Michelli. Now, Michelli is the oldest of the skaters on the board, born in the year 2000. 54 games played, 7 goals, 33 assists, 40 points. And it's only noteworthy going forward in that with Michelli, he may not have that same ceiling as the other star players on the board. This 0.74 points per game that he's putting out this year might be right around where he stays, which is good. That's actually a good number. 15 minutes and 31 seconds of ice time for him per game as well. Now his numbers could get better as well as Arizona gets better, which could happen as soon as next year, depending on which rookies come in. The other side though, the other way to look at it is, if other guys come in that are more skilled, could it push down Michelli's ice time? Could it push down his numbers in general? So there's both sides to go with that. And so, yeah, for Michelli this year, I don't think he gets the Calder. I think if he had played the full schedule, I think if he had more goals, I think there'd be a lot more talk because the points per game, he's number one. But again, Beniers has the more points in total, and he has the 19 goals compared to the 7 for Michelli. But the 33 assists are legit. He's a very good passer. Then you got Wyatt Johnston in Dallas, the reason I'm wearing a Texas jersey. Dallas, of course. Born in 2003, 71 games, 21 goals, 15 assists, 36 points. His points per game, 0.51. His ice time per game, 15 minutes and 25 seconds. So amongst the forwards, he's the lowest that I've talked about thus far. He's a little bit below both Michelli and McTavish, way below Beniers. But the 21 goals puts him in the lead. So that's going to get a lot of heads to turn a little bit towards Johnston. And if he puts up, say, another 5 goals by the end of the year, if he ends up around 26, 27 goals, he'll get some votes. I don't know if they'll be first place votes. I think it'll be hard to pry first place votes away from Beniers and maybe Sanderson as well. But yeah, for Johnston, it's been an excellent season and he's gotten better as the year's gone along. And I do think Dallas has got themselves a guy who's going to score 30 goals every year, at least from the looks of Johnston so far. Then you have Kent Johnson in Columbus. 67 games, 14 goals, 22 assists, 36 points. His points per game, 0.54. He's only playing 14 minutes and 1 second per game. 2002 birth year. And again, much like with McTavish, his numbers, I think, get pulled down by playing in Columbus, where scoring isn't quite as robust as you might want it to be. For Johnson, I think that there's a star there, and I think Columbus fans are going to be happy. That being said, if they'll be over the moon if they end up getting Bedard. But for Columbus, this is a team that could bounce back next season. They, at the very least, get back to like an 83, 84 point range, and I think Johnson's numbers have come up from there. but I don't see him as being really in on that same level as a Beniers, which is why I stopped at Johnson. So if you're wondering where other rookies are in the forward group, I thought to myself I could put others up here, but I don't know that any of them really have a realistic chance of pushing Beniers out as the number one guy. And then on the blue line, keep an eye on Jake Sanderson. 66 games, 4 goals, 25 assists, 29 points. Points per game, 0.44. Excellent for a rookie defenseman. And his ice time, 21 minutes and 14 seconds. He's playing a lot. And he's playing well. He was born in 2002 as well. So he has come along pretty quickly for a defenseman, and he's looked pretty good. He's looked like a veteran right out of the gate. And I think Ottawa's got themselves a keeper. I think they have the makings of a very good defense core. They just signed Tyler Clevin, that I'll be talking about in a news video later on. But yeah, Sanderson, I think, has shown us that he can be a top 4 defenseman in the NHL. He could be a top 2 defenseman for a long time to come as well. So Sanderson's been excellent. So's Owen Power. Number 1 draft pick, born in 2002, 67 games, 4 goals, 24 assists, 28 points, a .42 points per game average. His ice time much higher than Sanderson's, 23 minutes and 42 seconds. So if you look at scoring per every minute played, scoring per 60 minutes, for instance, you're going to see a much better number for Sanderson than you're going to see for Power. But with Power, I don't think it's about the points. I don't know that Power's ever going to be a defenseman that scores a ton of points. I think that'll be Darlene's job. I think Power's going to be a very good two-way defenseman. And I think Buffalo fans are going to be happy with this young core for a long time. As long as they can hold on to them. And that's always going to be the question in the conversation. But I don't see any reason why they won't be able to. Anybody whose contract's been up amongst the young guys, they've been able to get signed and they've been able to keep around. So Power should be another one that they're able to do that with. And while I don't anticipate Power necessarily jumping further up the Calder ladder, I think Sanderson has a bit of a better chance of getting Calder votes. But again, the difference between the two is very small. And so I'll be curious to see how that voting goes. It's always fun when the awards are done and they show us who voted for who and how the voting fell and all of that fun stuff. Now we'll get into the goaltenders. Skinner, 41 games, 21-14-4 record, .910 save percentage, 2.90 goals against. Now, Skinner's outplayed Campbell. Skinner has been a good goaltender for Edmonton. He hasn't been like lights out fantastic Shesterkin level, but he doesn't really need to be. And so his numbers have been good. The 21 wins are going to get some attention. He was born in 1998, but he's a goaltender. Goaltenders always take a bit longer to develop, at least usually. And so, yeah, I mean, Skinner's going to be in the mix. I guess the question then becomes, do you look at Skinner and Beniers and say, well, Beniers is the star player and Skinner is a good goaltender, but, you know, maybe you like Beniers a little better. And it's where things get kind of tough to do a comparison when it comes to rookies. Comparing a forward and a goaltender can be really tough. Even from a heart standpoint, it can be tough to compare those two. And so when a goaltender wins the heart, that's kind of a big deal because they've actually had to outduel a forward, I think, by a lot. Because I think there's a lot of goaltenders that have really strong years you can make the heart argument for that don't necessarily get that consideration. And then you've got Thompson. So Logan Thompson, 35 games, 20-13-3 record, .914 save percentage, 2.66 goals against. Now what hurts Thompson, I think, is he's played 35 games. Now that's due to injury, right? It's not through any fault of his own that he's only played 35 games, but I think that would lead to him getting fewer. It can't be 35 games. Let me double check. Yeah, never mind. He's played 36 games. This changes everything. It doesn't, though. 36 games, 20-13-3 record. And again, the fact that he's missed as much game with injury as he has might cause his chances to fall off a bit. Because we know Skinner's going to play more games between now and the end of the season. Thompson, he's working out with the team. He was the backup in their last game. And hopefully he gets in. If he gets to the 40-plus game mark and if his stats stay in this range, he may very well fight his way back into the conversation. And with the amount of time that he's had off, if they feel like they can put him in there for a bunch of games down the stretch, it'll help. Especially if he helps them end up win the division. If he struggles in his return, it could hurt his chances. I don't think a goaltender ends up winning the Calder this year. But again, while Skinner is leading in the overall numbers right now, if Thompson can play well in his return, and plays a bunch, he may force his way into it. But it'll likely be Beniers. I guess we'll all act surprised if it's Beniers that wins the Calder. But let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts about which player, forward, defenseman, goaltender, which rookie right now deserves that crown as the Calder winner for 2023. And again, I think it'll be Beniers. But let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.